Hey guys, Pro1701, and today we are going to talk about 3 Doctor Who stories that have grown on you. I'm not saying that it's a huge leap, but that you appreciate more than you did on original viewing. It's not like a video I did recently, which was 3 stories that your opinion has dramatically changed on, like a big jump one way or another. This is a story about one that's just slowly, over whether you've just seen it twice or whether you've seen it a dozen times, slowly, each time you watch it, it just kind of grows on you a little. We're going to talk about 3 of those, starting off with, for me, the faceless ones, with the second Doctor. The first time I watched it, I was just kind of, I mean, I didn't dislike it. I did like it, I enjoyed it, but I found it a little boring. I thought it ran a little too long, which I still think it runs a little too long. But not as much as I used to. I was very big on it being a better 4-parter and 6-parter, and I still think it could be a better 4-parter or maybe a better 5-parter. I still think it runs a little too long, but I've watched the faceless ones probably about 4 times now in different ways. You know, I've watched it a couple times in color. I watched it a couple times in black and white with the surviving episodes, and I find each time I watch it, I tend to enjoy it a little more. I really do like the animation. It's not quite as good as Macros, but it's still really good. I think the animation's really well done. I like a lot of the guest characters, like the one that's the Samantha, is that her name, or is that the character's name? It's the same actress that plays Queen Victoria in Tooth and Claw. I like her character in this one. I like the guy who runs the airport. I know he's not a positive character, but I absolutely like him because he just seems like he's so annoyed by the whole situation. He's cross with the Doctor, but he ends up helping and doing the right thing. You know, he is someone you can rely on once you convince him to get on your side. The inspector with the glasses that ends up going on the plane, I like him a lot. He's a really neat guest character. So I like several of the guest characters here. More and more, I prefer watching it in black and white with the surviving footage, but I have found that the color version has grown on me. I can sit back and just watch all 6 stories animated, I've discovered, and still enjoy it. They are very much different viewing experiences, much like Macroterra. And while I still don't think it's necessarily top-tier Troughton, I do find myself enjoying it each time I rewatch it more. It is a good story, if still perhaps a tad long. I enjoy the plot. I like the fact it takes place at the airport. That's pretty cool. And again, I like the guest characters and guest actors in it. Next on the list, this is going to surprise some people, but Ham is going to absolutely love it, is the Android Invasion, which I've actually only seen twice. But the first time I watched it, I didn't really care for it. It was the one story in season 13 I would point to as the weak link. The one story when people are like, season 13 is the best season ever, I'd point right at it and go, But having rewatched it and reviewed it, I still think it's the weakest story in season 13 easily. But I do find myself enjoying it. You know, I don't think it's like super great or anything, but I do think it's a good story. I think the thing that hurts it the most is probably the same thing that hurts Planet of Evil the most, is that it's in season 13, and season 13 is such an amazing season. It could objectively be the best season in the show's history. I think if Android Invasion was in like season 16 or 17, it would be, especially season 16, it would be one of the shining jewels of that season. It is a good story. The Doctor and Sarah Jane are great in it. I love not only when they're acting as themselves, but when they're acting as their robot counterparts. They do a really good job of acting it slightly differently so you can tell something is off, which I really like. It's nice to see Harry and Benton back, even if I wish they'd gotten a better send-off since it was their final story. And the fact that Brigadier's not in it is kind of the elephant in the room. But I did enjoy it a lot more on rewatch, and I do think the next time I watch it eventually I'll probably still like it. So that one has come up in my estimates. Although, I think it feels out of place in season 13. Because season 13 is so much the gothic horror season, much like 14 is, that this kind of robot story feels a little out of place, even if it is heavily influenced by Invasion of the Body Snatchers. If it actually had been pod people, you know, turning into people and stuff, that would have been a little scarier. But since they did it as robots, it doesn't quite jive with the rest of the season for me. Kind of like how State of Decay doesn't quite fit into season 18, because it's all horror themed since it's an older story that they just used. It doesn't quite fit with the rest of Season 18, even though it's the best story in Season 18. Much like how State of Decay is a little out of place in Season 18, I think Android Invasion is a little out of place in Season 13. It doesn't quite feel like it belongs there, to me personally, since the rest of the stories in that season have more of a fear and horror vibe going on to them. And then the last story is, switching to the modern series, is Deep Breath, Peter Capaldi's first story. Now, I've never disliked Deep Breath, but it always was kind of on the lower end of my ranking for post-regeneration stories. But every time I rewatch it, I enjoy it a little more. I've always liked it. The first time I saw it was in theater right after it came out. They showed it in theater over here in the States, and I was actually on a first date with a girl that I dated for over a year, actually, and who was also a Doctor Who fan, obviously. And I liked it then, especially that cameo at the end I really loved. But it didn't quite hook me the way, like, say, the 11th Hour had. But as I watch it now, and as I've come to really like Capaldi more as his Doctor grew on me, and as his Doctor changed and developed, especially by Series 10. I love Series 10 Capaldi. I've grown to appreciate him as an actor more, because even in Series 8, where I'm not as keen on the way his Doctor is portrayed, in Series 8, Capaldi as an actor still nails it. He's great. So I've come to appreciate that. I love a lot of the humor in it, with him talking to the dinosaur in a couple of different places. I will keep you safe. I love that. Oh, don't worry, that's how I always meet women. I love that. I love bringing back the clockwork creatures from The Girl in the Fireplace. And I love how they're an iconic villain in The Girl in the Fireplace. And I love The Girl in the Fireplace. It's a great story. And I love how they're done in it. And I love that they bring that villain back here in Deep Breath. But they do them in a completely different way. The way they look, the way they act, the way they approach the situation. And it still works. You know, they completely kind of reinvent this type of villain with a totally new look. And it works just as effectively. And to me, it's not easy to do that. And I like how it does it. This is a very different story than The Girl in the Fireplace, but it works. And I really appreciate that. It's not always easy to do that with a villain, I think. So I really like their design. The one guy who plays the lead kind of creature in it, I think he does a really good job. Clara and the Doctor are good in this one, even if her not accepting him doesn't really make sense, since Clara, more than any companion, should accept the Doctor regenerating, since she's literally encountered all of his previous incarnations. The only companion that's probably interacted with all of his incarnations, you know, over lifetimes and lifetimes and lifetimes. You figure she'd be a little more accepting. I feel like that's in there just as a plot point, so we can have the little cameo at the end and resolve everything. But since I love the cameo at the end, I kind of look past it. But, again, I'd kind of burned out on the little Potstanatter gang or whatever they called. I'm kind of over them. But I do like them in this story, and I always like Strax in a bubble as he is. So this one has grown on me, especially the scene when they're in the diner. That whole scene with the Doctor and Clara talking in the booth at the diner. That's good stuff. I love it. So this one grows on me a little bit, I think, every time I watch it, too, to where I enjoy it. Not my favorite post-regeneration story by any means, but I definitely appreciate it more than I used to. So that is 3 stories from Doctor Who that have grown on me as I have watched them more and more. I want to know what you think of my list and the stories that I have talked about, and I would also like to know 3 stories from you that have grown on you from classic and modern Doctor Who. So comment down below. I always enjoy interacting with you guys and finding out what you think. Other things to do, click the like button, click the subscribe button, click that bell for notifications so you never miss out on a new video. I also have a Patreon if you like what I do and want to contribute to what I do and help out and get nice rewards that let you steer the direction of the channel with video requests and fan polls and stuff like that. There's a link to my Patreon down in the description. Check that out if you have a minute. Most importantly, thank you for watching.